Liberia, a small nation nestled on the coast of West Africa. An economy largely dependent on agriculture and mining, thriving but still recovering from consecutive civil wars that lasted from the late 90s to the early 2000s. In this context, the internet had begun to play an increasingly significant role, not just as a means of communication, but as an enabler of economic development and social transformation. Despite its vastness, the internet is incredibly fragile. Though mostly unseen, it still relies heavily on physical infrastructure: servers, data centers, communication towers, satellite dishes, and most importantly, submarine cables. Engineering marvels comprised of optical fibers capable of transmitting terabytes of data every second. While satellites hover above, it is these submerged conduits that carry over 98% of the world's data, ensuring that emails arrive in seconds, financial markets operate in real time, and digital content is accessible from anywhere in the world. Currently, there are over 529 active submarine cables around the globe. One of them is a 17,000-kilometre wide cable system that connects countries across the West African coast to Europe. This is known as the ACE submarine cable network. Installed in 2011, it is to this day one of the most critical subsea cable systems in Africa. In early November, a British cybersecurity expert known as Kevin Beaumont would take to Medium.com to reveal an unsettling series of DDoS attacks against Liberia, capable of transmitting 500 gigabits of data a second. The ACE network was designed to facilitate regular, manageable levels of internet traffic, but was suddenly flooded with an extraordinary volume of data. The nation of Liberia, which solely relied on the network, would find their website shutting down, a bottleneck, where the volume of data trying to be transmitted exceeded the network's capacity to do so efficiently. As with a road overwhelmed by too many cars, in November 2016, the ACE network filled with data packets. As Kevin Beaumont described it, it was a single point of failure. The attack, which was a distributed denial of service or a DDoS attack, is, to this day, a formidable cyber threat. By itself, a denial of service attack involves a single computer system or hacker flooding a target server with an overwhelming amount of traffic. The aim is simple: to overflow the system or server and leave it inaccessible to legitimate users. This is often very simple to mitigate, as it only involves identifying a single source and then blocking it to stop it from creating any traffic. But what if it was 10 computers attacking instead of one? Maybe 100? And what if it was over 100,000 devices scattered all over the world? This is called a distributed denial of service attack, an orchestration of multiple compromised systems, an army of computers, or bots, referred to as a botnet. In 2016, Liberia's digital standstill was the handiwork of such a botnet, one of the largest botnets to date, and it was known as MIRAI. MIRAI was a unique botnet. While most generic botnets are comprised of regular devices such as PCs and personal laptops, MIRAI took advantage of the Internet of Things. The smart devices we use, our speakers, TVs, thermostats, watches, doors, sensors, printers, even cameras. And these devices were incredibly vulnerable, especially back in 2016. Unlike traditional computing devices, which have undergone years of security evolution and enhancements, many IoT devices are relatively new to the market and are not equipped with these robust security measures, making them far easier targets. To make things worse, unlike our computers, most IoT devices were always on. Using an IoT device as a bot usually meant it would serve as a steady, consistent resource for a hacker. MIRAI's story traces back to August of 2016, about a month or so prior to its launch against Liberia, when a white hat research group called Malware Must Die released a blog post after a thorough analysis of a Linux-based malware, aggressively multiplying by transforming vulnerable IoT devices into bots. The report included information about the types of devices targeted, how they got infected, and then how they were used for malicious activities. The IoT devices primarily targeted to be bots would be gathered into a network, ultimately creating a botnet with the sheer firepower to launch potent DDoS attacks. In the months following the report, some of the largest DDoS attacks in history would take place. Its victims included Krebs on Security, an internationally popular blog surrounding cybercrime, forced offline for nearly 4 days, and OVH, a French cloud computing company, as well as Dyn, a company that stands as one of the most pivotal elements of the internet's infrastructure, serving as the domain name system or DNS provider for hundreds of major websites. A DNS is akin to the internet's phone book, translating human-friendly domain names into the IP addresses that computers use to identify each other on the network. It's like having a phone but not being able to access the contact list or phone book. You know the names of people you want to reach, but without the corresponding numbers, connecting to them becomes impossible. When Dyn came under attack, its servers flooded with data. It wasn't just a single website or country that faced the repercussions, but a significant portion of the internet's architecture. As Dyn served behemoths of the digital ecosystem, including Twitter, Reddit, Netflix, PayPal, HBO, Airbnb, and many, many more. In the business world, a DNS outage isn't just a technical issue. It translates to a direct impact on the bottom line. Every minute of downtime means thousands, if not millions of dollars in lost revenue for the businesses involved. After the attack on Dyn, all eyes were on MIRAI, including Kevin Beaumont's, which is what led him to use the Twitter bot @MiraiAttacks, a bot that was strictly designed to post real-time updates of the attacks being executed by the MIRAI Botnet. It was by using this bot that Kevin was able to find the attacks targeted towards Liberia. As he tweeted out information about the botnet, those behind the botnet responded, trying to attack malwaretech.com with a DDoS attack. The creators of the Twitter bot used to track MIRAI's movements and later even outputting an eerie message directed towards Kevin. Kevin lies in fear, it read. But who was really behind this attack? The culprit was identified as Daniel K., a British cybersecurity criminal who was allegedly hired in 2015 by the CEO of Cellcom subsidiary in Liberia at the time. The attacks targeted Lone Star Cell, Cellcom's only competitor in the country, with whom they had over a decade of bitter rivalry with. While the attacks targeted Lone Star in particular, it crippled Liberia's internet infrastructure, as they were all dependent on the single undersea fibre optic cable, the ACE network. However, Daniel K. did not invent MIRAI. In fact, the attacks on Krebs on Security and OVH were entirely separate from those who carried out the Dyn attacks and subsequent high-profile attacks, such as the one on Lone Star. The reason for this was that in October of 2016, the creators of MIRAI Botnet publicly released the source code on a hacking community forum by a user called Anna Senpai. Releasing the source code meant that anyone could now launch MIRAI. Intentionally leaked by the creator, this was meant to cover up any tracks that may have led back to them, a way to deflect attention, and it worked. Numerous variants of the MIRAI botnet popped up, leading to attacks as devastating as the one on Dyn and Lone Star Cell. But in January of 2017, after extensive research by Krebs on Security, one of the first victims of the MIRAI botnet, they would release a report exposing the true creator, a 20-year-old self-taught programmer in New Jersey called Paris Jar, a student at Rutgers University, running his own DDoS mitigation firm called ProTraf Solutions. The tool was initially developed by Paris to shut down his competitors' Minecraft servers and drive player traffic to his own. As strange as that may sound, Minecraft servers were incredibly competitive, and bringing in more players to the server meant more profits. However, when Paris realised just how powerful his tool was, he had to test it out. It was only when the attack on Krebs on Security had reached peak attention, he attempted to deflect by publicising the entire thing on hack forums as Anna Senpai. It was revealed later that while Paris was the mastermind behind MIRAI, he wasn't alone in its creation. Two other 21-year-old men, Josiah White and Dalton Norman, were identified as co-conspirators to the scheme. After cooperating extensively with the FBI, they pled guilty to 5 years of probation and 2,500 hours of community service, along with the condition that they would cooperate with the law on cybercrime and security matters in the future. In the case of Lone Star, a lawsuit would ensue in 2019 against Cellcom for the damages caused. And earlier this year in March, Lone Star would win the case and be awarded $4.5 million for the damages. However, due to a lack of technical data recordings of the attack, the initial claim of a $47 million loss was never approved. In just the last decade, the world has seen a monumental upsurge in the amount of IoT devices. In fact, as of today, there are over 19.8 billion IoT devices, double that of non-IoT devices, and by 2025, expected to triple. In contrast, back in 2016 when MIRAI first surfaced, there were only 4.6 billion IoT devices. As these devices continue to proliferate, security is, more than ever, a crucial factor to consider. Smart devices are outgrowing our tabletops and wrists. Now, entire homes, offices, and even cities are being designed with this technology in mind. Having your device hijacked and used as a bot to run a coordinated attack against an enterprise may be scary, but it is far from the worst-case scenario. As our personal devices, homes, and even our own clothes start to connect to the internet, the repercussions of poor security can be catastrophic, to say the least.